Now today I want to show you a little bit on how you do indoor hydroponics. Now the simplest way to do this is to find yourself a good container. These are found in the grocery store, you know, in the aisle there where all the paper towels and stuff are, I guess. But these are disposable containers. I think these come like 4 in a pack or something like that, so they're pretty cheap. And these are just the right size for growing lettuce. Now, you see I've drilled a hole in this, and what that's for is I've got a net cup here. Now you can buy these net cups at any greenhouse supply. You go online and look for greenhouse supplies and look for net cups, and you'll find various sizes, and I think this is a 2-inch. And one thing you want to look for is you see the bottom here is kind of small. Now that's the one I prefer, and I'll show you why in a minute. You can get some other types that just have 4 open spots in the bottom, and basically, you know, dirt and stuff can fall through there. You can also get some that look like this. Now you can see the one on the right there with the big holes in the bottom. That's what I was talking about. If you put some perlite in there, that can easily all fall through there. Now the one on the left is got small holes. That would work great. It's got a little different pattern than the radial one I was just holding up. But you can get all kinds of them. Just don't get the one on the right with the big holes in it. Now all you do is you fill this up, and you put the cup in the top, fill it up to, you know, about there, nearly the top, when you're going to start your seeds. Lettuce can germinate even if it's underwater, so don't worry about that too much if you got a little bit too much water in here. But the idea is you put water in here nearly to the top, put your nutrient solution in it. Now again, a nutrient solution, you can buy that at any greenhouse supply store, particularly the ones that do hydroponics. They have some mixtures that you can buy, and it'll say something like, oh, put so many tablespoons in a gallon or a quart or something like that. Well, you mix that up, and that's what you put in here. The real mixtures for hydroponic operations, you can't really buy them very easily locally unless you have a hydroponic store somewhere. You know, something like Home Depot or Lowe's or something, a place like that probably won't have those kind of things. If they don't, you can make up your own. It works quite well. And all I do is I do like a tablespoon of Miracle-Gro in here, and I thought I'd better clear this up a little bit. If you have a container about like this, which is what I was showing you, you don't need a tablespoon of Miracle-Gro or something equivalent to it. What you need is maybe a half or a quarter of a teaspoon. You don't need much. And something like Miracle-Gro, there's a lot of products like that. What they don't have is calcium and magnesium, which is basically Epsom salts. And you just put a pinch of those two things along with a little bit of Miracle-Gro, and you'll have a pretty good solution. It works for me just fine. A pinch of Epsom salts and maybe a little pinch of calcium chloride or something like that. Not too much, and you fill it up and you mix it up, and then you take off with it, and it works pretty good. Now this is perlite. Now it has a consistency of I guess styrofoam, but it's a volcanic product and it absorbs water quite nicely, and this is a medium that I use. So you basically put it in a cup, and you can buy perlite just about any gardening store anywhere. They usually have it, and it's usually pretty cheap. You can use this, or like I say, you can use, if you have a cup with small spaces on the bottom, you can use potting soil. That'll work just fine. Now there's another thing you can use if you don't want to use perlite, and it's another product that is called rock wool, and it looks like this, and it comes in sheets, I don't know, 2 feet by 3 feet, or no, not that big. It's about 1 foot by 18 inches or something like that. Now generally what I call rock wool looks like this, and now this may not be technically absolutely rock wool, fit the definition, but that's what I call rock wool. Now when you get it, see, it comes like this, and you can break it up into some pieces, and these are the individual pieces I was showing you. Now here's another type or another brand of rock wool, and it comes like this. You can see they're just very small This one's smaller than those, of course. Very small. And you break these apart and see there's kind of a little hole or an indentation in these. And that's another thing that I generally use. And that works out pretty good. And those are available in any online garden store. You can get that greenhouse store. You can buy them from there. So what I usually do is you just let a lettuce seed fall into that little indentation, and usually this is soaked anyway, so the lettuce seed will get nice and wet. And sometimes if the water is even a little over this, that's okay. Okay, and then what you do is you put it in here, and you get the water up to here, and you put it under some lights. Now let's talk about lights. These are old CFL lights. I still have some of these. You can probably only get LED lights now. But what you want to get is, if you can see right here, right there, I hope you can see that, lumens. You want to get about 1600 lumens. Now it's not real important that you get exactly 1600. I mean, just somewhere in that neighborhood would work just fine. You need to have it that bright or the plants just won't do well. Another thing to look for is, you see down here, they usually have these on all packages, and what that is, basically what this means is what end of the spectrum you're at. And what you need is some at this low end, and that's what these are, and you'll get some others with a pointer that's right around here, and some at the high end. And if you get those two mixtures, that's what you need for hydroponic operations inside the house. Okay, so now I've filled this bucket with clean water out of the well, and my analysis shows that from the well water around here, that I need to use Miracle Grow and some magnesium for Epsom salts. My notes say a small amount of that and a small amount of calcium. And what I'm going to do is pour a little bit. Well, here, we can use this. Pour a little bit in here, and well, that looks like a lot. Now, I'm not going to pour this all in. What I'm doing is pour a little bit of this in here, and, like I say, a little bit of Epsom salts. So what that means is, in comparison to how much Miracle Grow, a little bit of Epsom salts. I won't put any calcium in it, because I don't think we need it. Well, what the heck. Let me put just a little bit. See, I like that. Now what I'm going to do is mix that all up with water, and I'm going to pour it in here until I get the conductivity up to 1,000 parts. I filled this up with water, and I think I've saturated the solution. I'm not sure all of this will go into solution, but I'll mix it up here. Now, just for fun, let me see what the dissolved solids are here in this. It's 7,000 parts per million. That's what I'm getting here. Now go back to this, and again it's 357. Now what I'm going to do is pour a little bit of this in and mix it up. Let's see if we can get it up to 1,000. So here we go. Let's mix up the brew. It's going to need some more, so I'll put a little more in. Maybe about that much. And we'll keep stirring. Okay, so this is saying I just hit 1,000, and it's, it's just going up and down a little bit around that mark. So I think we'll call that good. Now, as everything settles out, it might overshoot that a little bit or come back down, but we'll call it 1,000. So now what we do is we just fill these up. Fill them up. And then put them over there. Now, the reason I put it here is because right now in the wintertime, this is in a basement, and it doesn't really get much above 65 in here. So this should give the water what it needs to stay below 70 degrees. These have started to sprout, and we'll see how they do. This is good, and I don't know, that's 2 days or something like that. Just wanted to show you the progress that this lettuce has given us here. Now you look down here, you see the roots are doing quite well, and it looks like it's growing very, very well. So I'm going to try to plant several more of these. An update on that Kratky thing I tried. And you can see it's growing quite well. Well, I kept on growing this head of lettuce, and it seems to me like it took about 3 months, maybe a little longer, before it got to be fully grown to where I thought I'd harvest it. And I've got a picture at the end to show you that. Now, one thing to keep in mind is you can do this in a kitchen window or something like that, but it's important to keep the temperature of the water down. Otherwise, you'll get something called pythium. It's kind of like a mold or a fungus in the water. So if you can do that, you should be able to do this quite easily and quite nicely, either under artificial lights or in a kitchen window, and end up with something that looks like this.